Up now, we have Forum Daily's weekly energy update. We're joined by Dan McTeague, senior petroleum analyst at Gaswizard.ca.
Well, thank you, Nima. And again, another week has gone by. A lot of volatility in the markets, especially on the gasoline and, of course, the diesel front. We've been talking about diesel for the past little while. It looks like it's starting to make headlines, and that's because, of course, a severe shortage of diesel production. Um, Nima, we've seen diesel as a fuel sort of get sidebarred. It's not considered that important, but it's a strategic commodity, and globally, it's the most important fuel that we have. And it, of course, is the global workhorse when it comes to our economy. So the fact that we've lost three refineries in eastern United States and Canada, two in Philadelphia, one which happened to be the largest one, now replaced, of course, by Irving, that is to say, in terms of its rank. And of course, the Come By Chance refinery in Newfoundland. There is every expectation that as winter begins to take its grip, we see cooler temperatures from what we've been accustomed to up until now. Not only will diesel prices skyrocket, they're likely to be in a situation where in many states in the US and perhaps affecting Atlantic Canada, we might see rationing. Until we get there, though, it's pretty clear that I've never seen what's called a crude to rack spread. And that's to say, if the cost of crude on a day like today, Nima, is about 76 cents a liter, diesel actually is getting $1.75. And that's not just true of Eastern Canada or Eastern United States. It's also now true of the US Midwest. And of course, that means as a consequence, the prairies. We're looking this week, therefore, for an average increase in diesel prices across Canada, about 10 cents a liter. So if you don't like the price you're seeing now, which is the 220 average, right across the country, look to at least 10 cents a liter between now and next week. Gasoline is on a tear, and it's going to continue to increase. We're seeing, of course, a bit of back and forth with a bit of a drop earlier this week. But when we saw gas prices shoot up a week and a half ago to the $1.75 range, looks like that's the new average for the country. I'm expecting gasoline will follow diesel and go up by about 5 cents a liter. So some regions of the country won't see it as much as others. We've seen a bit of a break in Vancouver where prices are in the $1.80 range, a lot better than the 240 range, which is where they were just a few weeks ago. For Western Canada, remaining in the $1.70 to $1.80. For Ontario, $1.75, pushing to $1.80. Quebec pushing to $1.90 to $1.95, and the Maritimes pushing towards that $1.90, $1.92 range. What we're also looking at is the end of the U.S. government's use of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. As that ends, we're already starting to see significant draws in the U.S. inventories of oil. That will only mean much higher prices for oil in the weeks to come. It's a bit of a head fake that the Biden administration chose unwisely to use up its emergency reserves rather than building a pipeline that would have delivered those reserves. We call that the Keystone XL pipeline. You all recall that on the first day of his administration, the Biden government killed the Keystone XL pipeline, which would have delivered to the American people and to the world the million barrels that it desperately needs so that countries like OPEC become less and less relevant. The idea of energy security, which is something that was very much prized on both sides of the border 10, 20, and 30 years ago, as we tried to wean ourselves away from dependency on shady dictatorships for our energy, our natural gas, and our oil. Looks like we're returning to those days, unfortunately, and the woke policies of the left, driven in this country to a large extent by liberals, New Democrats, and of course Greens, has left Canada in a very vulnerable and awkward position. Vulnerable in the sense that inflation is extraordinarily high, the Canadian dollar remains very weak, prices for everything, not just diesel, but home heating fuel, jet fuel, the things that run our economy, gasoline, are now starting to spread and cascade into other parts of the economy. No one wants to talk about the elephant in the room. When you kill pipelines in this country, you wind up at some point seeing a lot of investment leave the nation, and a country that could be providing for the rest of the world just isn't. So that's sort of the narrative for this week, and it's going to continue to be more of a concern in the weeks to come. Nima, watch what happens in diesel, home heating fuel, and as a result, natural gas and propane will be in for the ride as well. So fasten your seatbelts, maybe take a second line of credit. As far as this winter is concerned, you ain't seen nothing yet. We'll talk next week, Nima. Back to you.
Always a lot to consider. Thanks for that, Dan. Again, that was Dan McTeague, senior petroleum analyst at Gaswizard.ca. He's also the president of Canadians for Affordable Energy. All right, stay with us. Forum Daily will be right back after the break. And when we return, we're going to be taking a look at the state of the crypto world. Catherine Murray joins us with Forum Daily's weekly cryptocurrency and digital asset update. The host of The Buck Stops Here will give us her take on the latest developments in the rapidly evolving sector. So stay with us. Forum Daily will be right back after a short break.